everybody, I'm Nathan. Welcome back to your Trading Cryptos Like a Pro weekly update. Now remember, I'm just looking at this from a trading perspective, telling me what the charts see, having a look at some of the news and see what might affect the price heading into the next week. Certainly no financial advice, because to be honest, when I'm trading, it ain't rocket science. Okay, we're looking for low risk, high probability opportunities. All right, and we're just going to have an overall look of what's happening in the market at the moment. Okay, last week, huge sell-off, wasn't it? There's nothing you could say. All the cryptos got absolutely smashed. Now, when I look at it, I'm not really looking at the whys. I'm often looking at the whats and the whens. They're more important to me if I want to be making money. But the reality is, if over months, we saw this during the Brexit, before the vote, the same as we saw, for example, in Bitcoin, we saw lots of people suddenly buying into, say, pounds or buying into Bitcoins or Ethereum or Ripple over a number of months, maybe potentially even years. But in the latest run, it's probably been over the last sort of 18 months. Okay, and they come in over a period of time. A lot of them are new participants into the market, and then as easily as they're convinced to get in, when it comes to getting out, they all decided to get out at the same time. We saw that during the Brexit. When the vote went the other way, all that money came out the one exit door all at the same time, caused panic selling, and down went the pound. And of course, they were borrowing in yen, and you can see actually the yen price moving up due to its extremely low interest rates and borrowing potential. And we saw the same thing really with the cryptocurrencies. We saw them coming in over a period of time, and of course, bang, they all wanted to get out the same door at the same time. They were panicked out. All right, and let's face it, they can't even spell hold properly. They call it hodl, because it's somehow they think it's different to any other currencies in the world ever before, or a tech bubble, or a biotech bubble, or a mining bubble, etc. Truth is, it isn't. You've just got participants who want to sell at the same time and can't, okay, without getting a really bad price. And of course, you have a lot of people coming in fueling that mania over a period of time who generally aren't in the market before. All right, so let's jump in. The other thing is, they say no one rings a bell at the top of a market. All right, but what you do start to see is really strange euphoric signs. Okay, one example is this. Here we go. Mainstream story out of Sputnik is Bitcoin Babes. It's the world's first cryptocurrency girls band debuted in Japan. Now, I know a lot of stuff weird happens in Japan, but really, I mean, if you can't say we're in a mania when this kind of thing is a main story, then if you're not willing to take some profit, or at least raise your stops into a profitable position and getting ready for a potential panic, then nothing will convince you. All right, so let's get back in and have a look at Bitcoin versus the US dollar. All right, now we've talked about it was in this range. I've actually lifted the top of the range up to its previous top, up here around this sort of 17,000 level, and of course we had the bottom down here around this sort of 12,000 level. Now what we've seen, and this is the overall, we talked about how it was in accumulation phase, well, but we said it was to the weak side. Well, it's definitely to the weak side. It's putting in lower tops, and now check this down here, we're putting in lower bottoms. What does that mean? Well, the sellers are willing to accept less for their Bitcoins. The buyers aren't willing to pay what they used to pay. They want to wait for a lower amount. Therefore, the overall view is it's going down. It looks weak. The only good sign I think we can see at the moment is it's coming back inside this range. And for me, that's a fairly positive sign. But what I'm going to look for, I want to see it now put in a lower bottom. So we want to see price pull back, put in a lower bottom. I want to see it put in a lower bottom here on this black line. Okay, I want to see the buyers come back that were there previously and be excited if they get the opportunity to buy around that sort of, that sort of 1200 level. All right, that would say to me, okay, at least we're back into more of an accumulation phase. But look, if it closes back outside here again, I wouldn't be touching this with a barge pole. If you're trading CFDs, you could potentially look for some selling opportunities if they present themselves. All right, so that's Bitcoin. I do have some positive, which I'm going to look at right now. I saw this. It's been amazing watching all of these, all of the chats going on in the different forums throughout Facebook. But honestly, check this out. I know a guy who was this person, all right, who cashed out at around 20,000. I think it was about 23,000. Big shout out to you, Shawnee. All right, even though it took a few phone calls, I was like, what's your strategy? He's like, I don't have a strategy. It's going to 50,000. I'm like, come on, man. You own it low. You've got to cash out. You've got to take some profit at some point. Okay, and he did. Now he's very happy. At the time, he was a bit nervous, but he executed his strategy. He put his money in his pocket. He can can still believe it's going to 40,000, but now he can choose to get in with the profit at a lower level and make some money. The reality is the guy who he sold to, or the person I should say who he sold to, up around that 23,000 level, well, they own them at 23,000. All right, remember, you're always selling to somebody. All right, so let's go back and have a look at the charts here. So we're going to now have a look at Bitcoin Gold. Bitcoin Gold's been really good to me over the last few weeks, and we've talked about how it was in this range between these two black lines. It was literally trading between this 420 and around this sort of 200 level. Now, last week we said, okay, if it comes down here and it holds, all right, for the day, we'll get in, we'll put a stop, you know, risking about sort of 20 bucks, okay, we'll risk all the way up to potentially 420. Okay, so it came down, and of course we had this beautiful bounce where the buyers saw it as an excellent opportunity, and up it went. So it's amazing how, I mean, I speak to people and they're like, you know, you just made 200% or 300% on your risk, on your trade, and potentially only risking sort of, you know, 10%. It's an amazing return. I mean, you just don't see this every day, you know, unless you were shorting after the Brexit, which I mentioned earlier. You just don't see these opportunities. You're so lucky. And then up it goes. However, down it came almost immediately. So you've got to make sure that you take risk out of your trade. Once you're up the same amount as you're risking, you take risk out of your trade. Then you just wait and see what happens, and of course it shoots up. Then you can decide to lock in some profit. It's not really that difficult. Even if you sold half and it didn't manage to get to the top of the range, down it comes. If you just keep doing that over and over again, you know, over a period of time, I find that it's a profitable trade, and it's something that I'll do from time to time. At the moment though, it closed below outside this range, looking very weak. However, it's back inside here now, so keep your eyes peeled on that one. All right, and the reason really is because if you go to the media, what are they telling us? They don't know what they're talking about. They've got no idea, because they're saying things like Bitcoin's value could eventually approach zero, and then the next story comes out and goes, well, no, it's not. It's going to go to $100,000 this year, according to a banking analyst. So as a participant in the market, what do? I mean, do you only read the stories that you believe in, that suits your sort of, because it's become a bit of a religious fervor, you know, which I'll show you when I get to this, this is Ripple. So therefore, you've just got to have a strategy, I think, where you're just looking for really high probability opportunities, low risk and potential high return. All right, so let's go back and move on. So we're going to move on now to Ripple, or XRP. And this has been a good one for me, really. Last week when we looked at it, we said it was coming off pretty hard. So it was down around this sort of 170 level from memory, or around, I think it was around this day here. And we were sort of saying, how far can this thing fall, and where would you potentially like to enter? And I said to you, and you can check the video for yourself from last week, I was like around this $1.20 level. I was looking at around this top here. I was like, if that top starts to become a bottom and we form some support, that's where I'd be interested. Okay. In fact, it came down to this top here. Have a look at this. So it comes all the way down. So check this out. It comes all the way down to this top here. Okay, and that's where the buyers obviously got really excited. Each day here though, we call this like tweezers, yeah, in the nerdy sort of trading business. It's because the buyers rejected this immediately. Then it tried to sell off the next day, rejection. So there's heaps of support of buying coming back in, which is a good sign. And of course, it's around that sort of $20 sort of 12 level. All right, so for anybody that did get in, I'd be getting risk out of this right now. I'd be saying to myself, look, I'm not going to let this become a Bitcoin where it comes up and puts in a lower top and eventually takes out this bottom, exactly what it did with Bitcoin. Let's have a look at that very quickly. All right, so here everyone got excited. It comes up and it puts in this lower top, and then it takes this out eventually and puts in a lower bottom. All right, so potentially that's exactly what could be happening with this Ripple. We don't know. And the other thing that's different is when it was moving up here, you didn't have all these people who owned it at higher levels. It was just continually putting in new highs all the time. Now you've got all these people who could be sitting there going, I don't know what to do. Should I hodl, or whatever you call it? Should I hang on to these, or should I should I get out? Well, I swear to God, if it gets back to even and I'm not losing money and I don't have to worry about my credit card that I maxed out to buy in, I'm definitely getting out. I'm definitely getting out. This kind of mentality. So that's going to put a lot of pressure on it. So I'd be getting risk out of that trade if you're in it, and literally be waiting to see what happens, because high probability is this could be a dead cat bounce, just as possible as it could be a total recovery. Now, for that reason, you've got to employ a strategy where you're getting risk out of your trades. I think that's certainly what I'd be doing. All right, so let's have a look at one of the stories. This is a ripper. Did everyone see this? It was just about on every post. So they're all telling us that Ripple does this every January. Okay, it says it's over and over again. It just sells off in January. But if that was the case, why weren't you telling us before January? You know why? Because most of the participants didn't bother to look at the chart over 5 years and work out what they were doing, because maybe they were new to trading. Okay, and the other thing is, it's hindsight hero stuff. This is all trying to convince me. It's like a religious fervor. You're just trying to tell me to stay in so I don't sell, so that if you're deciding to hodl, right, then it's not going to affect the price of you're asking me to stay in, you know what I mean? So that to me, this is all nonsense. Yeah, it's crazy talk. It's like you buy a house off a real estate agent, and then the real estate agent, when the roof falls in, he goes, "Oh, it happens every January. Don't worry about it." Right? It's like, well, you could have told me that. I would have bought it in February. Do you know what I'm saying? So that to me, this is very propagandish. All right, it doesn't help you make your trading decisions after the fact. That's all. All right, so let's jump back in and have a look. So that's Ripple for me at the moment. I honestly am looking at this and going, I just don't know what it's going to do. What I want to see it do is come back down, put in a higher bottom. Okay, I want to see it come back down. I want to see these buyers willing to pay more. All right, I want to see a support level form, and potentially we could move higher. Have I missed it? Have I not taken my own advice at $1.20? Could this now just continue up for the rest of the year? Absolutely. But this isn't the only trading opportunity we're looking at. All right, I know as a guy on Tinder, you're just saying yes to everything, because you might miss out if they like you back or match you back, right? Whereas girls are the smart ones. They just go through and go, right, I want the best opportunity with everything going for him. I want that six-pack abs. I want him to be a doctor. I want him to be able to surf and take long walks on the beach, right? Well, we've got to be the girl when we're trading. We're looking for high probability with the most going for it, etc. All right, so that's all from the Ripple side. Let's move down now and have a quick look at Ethereum. Now, Ethereum here, we looked at this great trading opportunity last week, and it went all the way back up, and it made huge profit. I mean, it was 880 up to 1400. Then it came all the way crashing back down, didn't it? But the good sign here is there's a lot of buying support. So it may have just been panic selling, and of course the smart buyers were in there, and they were ready to take advantage of that based on their trading views. All right, and it looks like it's heading up now. But what I'm looking for is, I don't want to see it put in like a Bitcoin and put in a lower top, because that would say to me, hey, you've got to be really careful here. If you do have some holdings, you might just want to take some partial profits for the time being. That's pretty much what I would do. All right, now let's finish off by having a look at a couple of quick stories. This is interesting. We've got this South Korean official who was caught trading on insider knowledge of crypto regulations. Well, this is the Wild West. You've got the banks against you, because remember, all cryptos, or Bitcoin especially, it's stateless and bankless. So the states and the banks aren't going to be too happy about all you people now being able to not have being controlled by these entities. It takes away their power. Of course they're going to be able to get you. It's non-regulated. All right, so you've got to expect these things. This is why I think you've got to go in with low risk, high probability, get profit out of the market, and whether you stay in for months and then you have to take some profit, or whether it happens in days, then that's the way I think it's got to be. Because remember, these guys are willing. All they want is to take the money out of your pocket and put it into theirs. All right, that's how they operate, and I think therefore you've got to participate in this marketplace with a strategy that's going to allow you to be aware of that and allow you to take the profit as well. All right, so the other story is it's an interesting one. It's come out now saying that this Bitcoin is a project of US intelligence, and this fits into what You know, we talked about Catherine Austin Fitts. It fits into what she was saying. It fits into what Gerald Celente was saying, in that we just don't know. Like, we don't know who's actually created this thing, and that's a fact. All right. The other thing, and it could be US intelligence, and of course you also had that Cliff High, which I've mentioned in previous videos, saying that he believed it's going to go sideways for a while, and then you're going to have this huge breakout at around, I think he said around May. All right, so keep your eyes peeled on that. Thanks everybody. I look forward to speaking to you next week.